Welcome, everyone, and a really special welcome to all the C9 followers joining us right now from the podcast network and our business page. I am your host, Lex.
And I am your expert guide, Vera. We are just thrilled to be hosting the C9 podcast show for you today.
Yeah, we are. And let's jump straight into it because we need to be explicitly clear right at the talk about who this deep dive is actually for.
Absolutely.
If you are an Australian business owner, a CTO, or a C-level executive tuning in right now, this conversation is custom tailored entirely for you.
We know your time is your most valuable asset.
Right. You are likely drowning in meetings already. You absolutely do not have the patience for, theoretical fluff about what artificial intelligence might look like in a decade.
No one has time for that. You need actionable, concrete insights today.
Exactly. So our mission for this deep dive is highly specific. We're going to examine a massive paradox in the Australian corporate landscape right now.
Really expensive paradox.
Yes. We are looking at why enterprises are authorizing these massive budgets for AI integration, but fundamentally failing to get those systems into actual working production.
Right. And to do this, we're drawing from an extensive 2026 report and an executive guide that details the precise structural barriers stalling AI in Australia. And more importantly, we're going to outline the custom architectural strategies you need to tear those barriers down.
That's the key. The ultimate goal here is to pull you out of what the industry is calling AI pilot purgatory and help make AI a production reality for your specific business.
Let's set the stage a bit.
Go for it.
Let's unpack a statistic from a Deloitte Access Economics and Amazon report from late 2025. It is a number that honestly stopped me in my tracks when I read it.
Oh, it's wild.
According to their data, 2/3 of Australian small and medium businesses are using AI in some form.
Okay, 2/3.
But only 5% are fully enabled to actually realize its benefits.
It's just 5%. That massive gap between ambition and execution is the entire story right now.
It really is. And if you are an executive listening to this, I want you to mentally picture a scenario that is probably painfully familiar to your board.
We've all been there.
You reviewed the proposals, you approved the budget, you sat through vendor demonstrations that looked, honestly, nothing short of miraculous on a screen.
Oh, they always look perfect in the demo.
Always.
Yeah.
So you launched a pilot program, the team was buzzing with excitement, the internal newsletters went out,
Yep.
and then a few months later, it just quietly died.
It just fades away. Nobody talks about it anymore.
Exactly. It stalls out at the integration layer, or it gets bogged down in an endless governance review, or it just doesn't work the way the sales rep promised.
Right. The budget was spent, but the enterprise-wide production deployment simply never happened.
Never happened.
I think we need to validate that frustration right now for you. Because if you are nodding along in your car or sitting at your desk, you need to hear this.
It is not your fault.
No, it is not a lack of ambition on your part, and it certainly isn't a lack of budget. What the research clearly shows is that this is an architecture problem.
An architecture problem.
And here is where it gets incredibly interesting. Those generic, off-the-shelf AI platforms you are buying licenses for, they are built for a mythical average enterprise.
Which doesn't exist.
Right. They are designed by software companies that assume you have perfectly clean, cloud-native data flowing seamlessly across your entire organization.
And let's be real, we both know that is absolutely not the reality of how Australian businesses actually operate.
Not even close. The reality on the ground is messy. It is highly complex, it is deeply regulated, and it is usually built on years of legacy infrastructure.
And the numbers prove just how punishing this reality is. The Deloitte 2026 State of AI in the Enterprise Report shows that only 28% of Australian organizations have moved more than 40% of their AI pilots into production.
Wow, only 28%.
That means the vast majority of companies are entirely stuck. They are attempting to build this cutting-edge, predictive capability on a foundation that structurally cannot support it.
And an off-the-shelf software license is never going to magically fix a cracked foundation.
Never.
So if I am a business owner listening to this, I'm thinking, great, I'm stuck. Now what?
Right.
Well, the sources we are looking at outline 6 very specific structural barriers keeping you trapped. So let's break this down logically.
Let's start with the first major hurdle, which is data readiness. The executive guide is incredibly firm on this point. Data quality is the ultimate, non-negotiable failure point.
It's the absolute bedrock. The assumption vendors make is that your data is neatly organized. But if we look at the average Australian mid-market business,
Structurally, the data lives across a chaotic patchwork of systems.
totally chaotic. You might have an aging CRM system managing your sales, an on-premise ERP handling your finance and operations.
And frankly, a dozen fragmented Excel spreadsheets hoarded by individual department heads.
Yes. It's like a corporate kitchen junk drawer.
A junk drawer, yes.
Everyone has one. You know there are some AA batteries in there somewhere, but you wouldn't trust a robot to reach in blindly and find exactly what you need.
That is a perfect analogy. Because when you take a highly advanced AI model and feed it the contents of a corporate junk drawer,
Where the operations software formats a date one way and the sales software formats it another.
exactly, the AI model simply breaks. It hallucinates. It generates unreliable, contradictory outputs.
And the moment an AI gives your procurement team a blatantly wrong inventory count, human trust in the system just evaporates.
The pilot stalls right there.
And the tragic part of that scenario is that the millions of dollars weren't wasted on a bad AI model. The money was effectively set on fire at the data preparation stage.
The budget is gone. Skepticism sets in across the leadership team.
Oh yeah, good luck getting approval for your next AI initiative. It becomes infinitely harder.
So true.
So if generic platforms just break when they hit our messy reality, what is the actual engineering fix here?
Well, the actionable insight is that you cannot just plug an AI into chaos and hope it learns to sort it out.
Right.
The solution requires deliberate, custom engineering. What these successful top-tier companies are building is called a governed data lakehouse.
A governed data lakehouse, right?
Think of it as a unified, highly auditable repository. It is custom engineered to extract all that fragmented data from your aging systems, clean it up, and format it into one consistent schema before the AI ever even touches it.
Okay, so we clean out the junk drawer, we build the governed data lakehouse, but that brings us to a massive practical problem, which is the second barrier the report highlights.
Legacy integration.
Because even if the data is clean, you still have to plug this new, shiny AI into systems that were built when flip phones were popular.
Which is precisely where off-the-shelf AI products completely fall apart.
Yeah.
During a sales pitch, a generic AI looks flawless on sanitized sample data. But then you try to deploy it into your actual production environment.
What happens then?
Well, what if your core operational system is a proprietary 15-year-old platform running on a closed database? What if it has no native API?
Meaning it has absolutely no built-in way to talk to modern internet-based software.
Exactly.
I imagine the generic AI just bounces right off it. It can't communicate.
It hits a brick wall. And the App Inventive 2026 report states this point blank. AI that sits outside of your core platforms rarely scales.
That makes sense.
If you buy an AI tool that forces your employees to leave their main workflow, open a new browser tab, ask a question, and then copy-paste the answer back into your ERP.
You haven't really innovated. You've just created a new administrative chore.
Precisely. For faster value realization, the AI outputs must be embedded directly into the software your team already uses all day.
That makes total sense, but how do you actually achieve that? If I'm a CTO, I'm thinking about the absolute nightmare of trying to force a 2026 AI to talk to a 2011 database.
You cannot rely on generic integration platforms because they only cover modern common applications. The structural fix here is adopting an API-first architecture. This means bringing in specialized developers to build custom connectors and event-driven pipelines designed specifically to bridge your unique legacy systems with modern AI.
And if you don't?
If you try to avoid this custom engineering challenge, your internal IT resources will spend the next 2 years permanently bogged down in integration failures.
Wow. Which leads us directly into the third barrier, and this is a classic executive dilemma that I know keeps people up at night.
Oh, definitely.
It is the battle of platform versus best of breed.
Yes.
If you are signing off on these budgets, do you go all in on one giant vendor ecosystem, risking total vendor lock-in?
Right.
Or do you buy a dozen specialist best-of-breed tools for every different department, which feels like it would create a fragmented governance nightmare that your IT team can't possibly monitor?
It is a massive strategic choice, and the path you choose will dictate your operational agility for the next 5 years.
So what's the answer?
For most Australian enterprises, the architecturally correct choice is actually neither of those extremes. The optimal strategy outlined in the 2026 guidance is what is called a governed hybrid architecture.
A governed hybrid architecture. Let's make sure that is crystal clear for you listening. Doesn't a hybrid model just mean my IT team has twice as much to manage?
Not if it is engineered correctly. A governed hybrid architecture means you establish a central governance and monitoring layer, usually aligned with whatever your primary existing ecosystem is.
Okay, so you use that for standard everyday tasks.
Exactly. But you deliberately deploy custom-built bespoke AI applications specifically for your high-value core workflows.
I see.
You don't use generic AI to manage your proprietary supply chain logistics. You build a custom tool for that specific competitive advantage while keeping it all visible under one central monitoring dashboard.
It gives you the oversight of a single platform with the sharp competitive edge of bespoke engineering.
That is a brilliant way to frame it. You protect the baseline, but custom build the differentiator.
Okay, so if we solve the data, we build the custom connectors for legacy systems, and we adopt this hybrid approach.
Yes.
How do we actually afford to scale this? Because building these custom pipelines one by one sounds incredibly expensive.
It does.
And that brings us to barrier 4, infrastructure, and this concept of the AI factory.
Scaling is where companies bleed capital if they aren't careful. If you do not have shared AI infrastructure, meaning a centralized data system, shared model registries, and standardized testing pipelines.
You are effectively paying full retail price for every single new AI project from scratch.
Exactly. Because every time marketing wants an AI tool and HR wants one, the IT team has to reinvent the wheel.
They have to solve the exact same security and data access problems all over again.
Without an AI factory model, there is no efficiency of scale. But if you build that shared foundational infrastructure once, the costs of your second, third, and 10th AI deployments decline dramatically over time.
You start seeing compounding returns on your investment instead of perpetual pilot syndrome.
That is a powerful shift in perspective from an expense to an asset.
But let's look at the flip side of that, which is what happens when you don't provide these tools. Barrier 5 is something I found genuinely alarming in the research.
Shadow AI.
Shadow AI.
Shadow AI is not some hypothetical risk that might happen in a few years. It is actively happening inside your organization today, right under your nose.
Paint a picture of what that actually looks like on a Tuesday afternoon in a normal office.
It looks like your senior marketing manager copying and pasting highly confidential client strategy briefs into a public browser version of ChatGPT just to summarize them faster for a meeting.
Oh, wow.
It looks like your lead software developers feeding your proprietary source code into an OpenAI assistant to help them debug a problem.
And they aren't doing this maliciously. They aren't trying to sabotage the company.
Not at all. They are high performers who are just trying to do their jobs more efficiently, and your current approved legacy tools aren't cutting it. But the risk they are creating is severe. We are talking about massive exposure under the Australian Privacy Act 1988, not to mention intellectual property leakage.
You are essentially offering up your proprietary company data to train the AI models that your competitors will use tomorrow.
Exactly.
So, playing the role of the reactionary boss for a second, do we just block these sites on the company firewall, issue a stern memo?
Prohibition is a completely failed strategy. If you block one site on the corporate network, they will just use a different one on their personal smartphones.
Fair point.
The architecturally correct response is to provide a governed, internally approved AI environment that is genuinely superior to the consumer tools they are sneaking around to use.
You build a custom internal tool with strict data loss prevention controls and audit logging.
Yes. When you're approved, secure option is actually faster and smarter than the public internet. The motivation to use unapproved shadow IT completely disappears.
Which perfectly segues into the 6th and final structural barrier, governance. Regulatory pressure isn't a distant threat anymore, it is at our doorstep.
The National AI Plan 2025 has set very clear expectations for corporate responsibility.
Yet, according to the 2026 data, 78% of Australian companies are deploying AI without advanced governance models in place. So, does that just mean they need a better policy document?
This is a critical misunderstanding at the executive level. Governance is not just a policy document.
Right.
It is not a PDF sitting in a shared HR folder that everyone signs once and forgets. True governance must be built natively into the system's software architecture.
Okay, what does that look like?
If you are deploying AI that makes autonomous decisions, you need the infrastructure to know exactly what those systems are doing in real time.
Why they made a specific decision.
Yes, and who is accountable when a hallucination or error occurs.
Because you cannot audit a PDF when the regulatory body comes knocking.
Precisely. You need native lineage tracking and metadata management built directly into your data pipelines.
If you don't engineer governance into the code itself, you are setting your business up for severe regulatory exposure and massive reputational damage.
Absolutely.
Okay, we have covered the 6 structural barriers keeping businesses in purgatory. But I want to shift gears because we need to talk about the hidden cost of doing nothing.
This is huge.
There is a tendency to think that delaying AI adoption is a safe, neutral holding pattern, but the sources outline what human resources and people operations look like without AI in 2026, and it is a wake-up call.
The assumption that doing nothing preserves the status quo is incredibly dangerous. Doing nothing in HR right now is an active, compounding competitive disadvantage.
The Australian talent market has fundamentally shifted, and employee expectations have changed permanently.
The numbers back that up aggressively. According to the research, 72% of Australian employees now see AI as a tool to enhance their roles, not a threat to replace them.
72%. Think about the implications of that for your top-tier talent.
If you have brilliant, highly paid employees and you are forcing them to spend 20 hours a week doing repetitive, manual data entry across legacy systems,
They're going to leave.
they will actively jump ship to a competitor who has modernized and automated those administrative tasks.
Because that competitor allows them to actually do the high-level knowledge work they were hired for in the first place.
Exactly. Let's break down some specific HR transformations to make this real. What is the actual gap between an AI-enabled business and a legacy business when it comes to something like recruitment?
Well, without AI, screening resumes and shortlisting candidates consumes dozens of human hours.
It is slow, and it is highly vulnerable to human fatigue and unconscious bias.
But AI-augmented workflows compress that initial screening into minutes. The AI evaluates purely on structured criteria, reducing bias and resulting in a measurably better, faster shortlist.
And what about the onboarding experience? We all know the pain of a new hire spending their first 3 weeks hunting for process documentation across 5 different shared drives.
Oh, terrified to ask the senior staff the exact same question for the 4th time.
Right. That is a massive drain on productivity for both the new hire and the senior staff.
But with a custom AI integration, you connect an internal knowledge base directly to a chat interface.
The new hire just asks the system naturally,
Right.
like, where do I find the Q3 brand guidelines? Or how do I submit an expense report?
And they get an instant, accurate answer. They become productive from day one.
It also completely transforms workforce planning,
Yeah.
right? We are moving away from just reacting to people quitting.
Entirely. Instead of waiting for a crisis when a key player resigns, AI-powered intelligence continuously maps your current workforce capabilities against the skills your business will need in 3 years.
It identifies those gaps proactively.
Yeah.
You move from reactive, panicked emergency hiring to strategic, long-term workforce development.
If you aren't providing this kind of frictionless, intelligent environment, you are actively seeding your best talent to employers who have made the daily working experience measurably better.
So true.
So we know the cost of doing nothing is losing our best people. We know the generic platforms don't work. The logical next question for you listening is, how do we actually build these specific high-leverage transformations?
The sources point to 2 incredibly powerful solutions that you need to know about: Round Greg and agentic AI.
Let's start by demystifying RAG, which stands for Retrieval Augmented Generation. What does that actually mean in plain English?
Think of a standard AI model, like a brilliantly smart intern who has read the entire internet but knows absolutely nothing about your specific company.
Okay.
If you ask it a question about your policies, it'll just guess. RAG changes that architecture. It is a custom engineering framework that connects the AI directly and securely to your private enterprise knowledge base.
So instead of the AI hallucinating a generic answer it found on a blog somewhere, it is actually reading your specific current warranty terms.
Yes, it reads your compliance records, your proprietary pricing catalogs, your internal service policies.
Wow.
When your customer service team uses a RAG-powered assistant while on the phone with a client, they are getting instant answers grounded entirely in your proprietary truth.
It turns AI from a fun, unreliable novelty into essential, mission-critical infrastructure.
That is a game changer for accuracy.
Now let's look at the second solution, which sounds a bit futuristic but is happening right now. Agentic AI orchestration.
According to PwC's 2026 predictions, agentic AI is the absolute highest leverage investment pattern available to Australian businesses.
But hold on, let's unpack agentic AI for a second. We aren't just talking about a smarter chatbot that helps draft emails here, are we? We're talking about software that actually takes action.
That is the crucial distinction. A chatbot waits for a prompt and generates text. Agentic AI actively plans tasks and executes multi-step workflows across your systems.
Give us a real-world example of that in a corporate setting.
Imagine a custom AI agent built for your procurement department. It doesn't just answer questions about stock levels, it continuously monitors your inventory in the background.
Okay.
When it sees that stock of a critical component drops below a predefined threshold, it automatically drafts a reorder request, checks that request against the current budget approval limits.
It does that automatically.
Yes. Then it routes it to the correct manager for a single-click sign-off, and then submits the order to the supplier.
That's incredible.
Or think of an IT agent that triages incoming help desk tickets, categorizes them, and independently resolves common password resets or access requests without a human ever touching it.
It's acting as a digital employee executing a process, but I have to imagine that comes with massive risks if it isn't set up perfectly.
It does, and this is the massive caveat every executive needs to hear. Agentic AI, without strict engineered governance, is just operational exposure at scale.
Right.
An agent must have explicitly coded authority boundaries. It must have human oversight checkpoints built into every consequential decision point.
You absolutely cannot just let an AI loose to click buttons in your operational systems without strict custom-engineered guardrails.
Never.
And I think that brings us to the ultimate unifying takeaway from all of these sources. Whether we are talking about building a RAG system so the AI knows your business,
Or deploying agentic AI to automate workflows,
or cleaning up the junk drawer with data latehouses, or setting up a governed hybrid architecture, the common thread is undeniable.
off-the-shelf generic software licenses will not solve these structural problems.
Getting out of pilot purgatory requires bespoke software development engineered specifically for your messy data, your legacy systems, and your strict regulatory context.
That is the harsh technical reality. Generic platforms fail to scale because they were built for an average global enterprise that doesn't exist.
They were not built for the specific compliance-heavy, legacy-burdened reality of the Australian mid-market.
So how do you fix it? This is where we bring it all together.
Yes. If you are serious about breaking out of testing and moving into production, you need a partner who understands this exact engineering landscape. We highly recommend you look at C9.
They are Australia's leading custom software, apps, integration, and database developer company.
You can find them right now at www.c9.com.au.
What makes C9 different from a standard vendor is that they aren't just trying to sell you a recurring platform license and walk away. They are a dedicated engineering team that builds production-grade, custom software explicitly designed for complex, legacy-integrated environments.
To solve the exact problems we've discussed today, they provide a highly structured 90-day roadmap to get your business out of testing and into reality.
Let's quickly outline what that 90-day roadmap looks like, because it is a very practical consulting framework.
It starts with an assessment phase in weeks 1 through 4. They come in, map every shadow AI tool currently being used by your team, and deeply audit your chaotic data estate to find the cracks.
Then, in weeks 4 through 8, you enter the design phase. This is where they architect the solutions we discussed,
Specifying your custom data foundation,
mapping the API connectors for your legacy systems.
and building the governance framework directly into the plan.
Finally, weeks 8 through 20 is the build and deploy phase. This is where C9 actually delivers a governed, production-grade AI application that comes with a board-ready return on investment.
It is a deliberate, engineered path from ambition to execution. It ensures your foundational architecture is actually solid before you try to scale. Again, you can check out their work and get started at www.c9.com.au.
Now, as we wrap up this deep dive, please make sure you hit that follow button on the C9 podcast show.
And if you know other business owners, CTOs, or C-suite executives who are pulling their hair out because they're stuck in AI pilot purgatory, please share this conversation with them.
It might be exactly what they need to hear to change their strategy.
Before we sign off, we want to leave you with one final provocative thought derived directly from the source material.
An October 2025 survey by MYOB noted that 52% of mid-market businesses with active AI investments reported tangible revenue growth,
52%.
compared to just 22% of smaller, unenabled firms.
And when you pair that massive growth gap with the Deloitte projection that the economic value of fully AI-enabled SMBs is a staggering $44 billion for Australia,
It forces a very uncomfortable realization.
it absolutely does. If that much new economic value is currently being created and captured, you have to ask yourself,
How much of your specific market share is currently being silently absorbed by your fully enabled competitors, while your own AI initiatives remain hopelessly trapped in the testing phase?
That is a heavy, critical question to ponder before your next board meeting. The clock is ticking on architecture.
It really is.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive. We will catch you next time.